I need y'all to come on in for a second and completely disregard all of this. I look whitewashed, sad, and tired. A little drunk because I am whitewashed, sad, tired, and a little drunk. But I did want to get this out before I go to sleep. I got a nail appointment tomorrow. So, I recently bought, streamed, downloaded, and watched Peacock, the streaming device. And they have Belair. How did I forget so fast? I'm wine drunk. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I love you all. Remember, love is all year long, so you don't necessarily need a specific holiday. If someone loves me right all year long, I don't give a shit about Valentine's Day, and I hope that counts for you all as well. Whether you're in a relationship or not, I would rather someone love me all year long and it not Valentine's Day be another day of that consistent and or regular love than for them to not love me appropriately and only show affection or love or adoration on Valentine's Day. Back to my original point, we got Peacock television for the Super Bowl, which was yesterday, which the halftime show was amazing. We're not gonna get into that because that's not what this is about. The point is, this is about, we started watching Belair, which is the spinoff slash remake of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So Will Smith playing Willard Smith playing a character from Will Smith, originally from West Philadelphia, born and raised. And if you don't know anything about me, let's start with this. My name is Marquita Winston Ramirez, and I'm from Philadelphia. I'm actually from North Philly, not specifically West Philly, but I have been to West Philly many times. It doesn't make me an expert on West Philly, and it doesn't make me an expert on Fresh Prince. But being from Philly and a Philly native, I am clearly, you automatically have my attention, or at least enough of it. So this show, I was called in. I was curious enough, but it seemed not as humorous, kind of dark, and I'm not always the biggest fan of remakes because it worries me because most people don't do remakes well, and so I don't even want to give it my energy at this point because I don't think there's enough behind remakes to give them like enough, kind of enough for me, enough grace for me to feel like, let me check it out and see. I'd rather not. I don't even want to tarnish the memory of something so great in certain instances. Um, Mind you. Okay, so I started watching Bel-Air. Why am I wine drunk? It's Valentine's Day. So that's about right. That makes sense actually. I was like, why am I wine drunk on a Monday, like this level? Whatever. I don't care. I'm a grown up and I don't have to work tomorrow, so F y'all, I hope you don't have to work tomorrow. If not, then we are in the same boat. I hope you're wine drunk too, responsibly. And if you have to work tomorrow, if you're wine drunk, please hydrate. Take a Tylenol preemptively. You have to take it tonight so you wake up fresh as a fucking daisy. The point is, I watched Bel-Air. I was really apprehensive. I didn't want to watch it for a long time. I gave it a chance because someone recommended it to me, and I normally don't even do that because I'm not lazy. It's just once I make my mind up, a lot of times I've made my mind up, so it's kind of hard for me to change even my own mind. So all the characters are consistent. There is a lot of stuff that feels very familiar. It's not copy and paste, which is my favorite part. I was worried that it was going to be a remake. So like remaking the same episodes with the same lessons. There are similar lessons. The characters are like name-wise are the same, but they are not the same. It is the same, but it's different. And I am happy to like put this together really quickly before I go to sleep because I'm also tired. But I wanted to get out while it was fresh because I just finished. I came upstairs to go to sleep. All of the characters are the same. There's Carlton, there's Ashley, there's Hilliary, there's Aunt Viv, there's Uncle Phil, but it is not the same. It has enough of the same parts for it to feel familiar, but it's very good in the timing and like how it's different for the time period we're living in. Plus, it's also done really well in the lessons. It is not the same type of humor as it was when we were younger. We're not constantly laughing. It's a lot not darker, it's just a lot more serious, a lot more drama. I usually rate things on a scale of 1 to 5. I usually don't do 10. 10 gives too much space for like a lot more like in between. 1 to 5 kind of narrows it down, like it's good or it's bad. After 3 on up, it's good, it's workable, it's tolerable. At 3 and under, it's not. So if you give it 1 to 5, there's too many more degrees in between for it to be like in this show, I don't do drama a lot at all. I don't like shows that make me feel sad or angry or scared or too much drama because or too close to home or too real or too dark, because I live that life already. So I like things that take me away from dark or sad places. Um this show gets a solid ass 4 to 4 and a 5. 4.5. The actor who plays Will Smith, I want to say first name is Jabari. Is solid. He is a great actor. He emotional, like there are moments where I see him and I'm like, that's Will Smith. Or that's like not Will Smith, but the character Will Smith from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Or I'll see him and I'm like, that's the Fresh Prince. I knew Jazz before I knew Jazz. Like before he said his name was Jazz, I knew that was Jazz. It's Jazz. Aunt Viv kind of sounds like Aunt Viv, and I feel like she studied Aunt Viv because how she is acting feels like Aunt Viv. Uncle Phil is not the Uncle Phil we knew. He's not light skinned, he's not heavy, so there's not a lot of heavy fat jokes. Though a lot of the humor that we think or expect or are used to has been taken out. However, the relationship between him and Will as a role model, as a father figure, as someone who's wise, is very consistent. And they maintain that in this, which is important. Carlton, without the humor, Carlton is a fucking dick. I never realized there was always jokes in between, height jokes, things like that. But this Carlton, they do a lot of the similar things that were in the original series that were specific to Carlton, but without the humor in it. Carlton's the fucking worst. Like the worst. I feel guilty. I'm looking forward to them becoming more like a family, more like brothers. But for now, being that I think it's only like 3 episodes, Carlton's the fucking worst. Ashley's adorable. So far, I think I'm on episode 3. We've only seen her. We might have seen her in the first 2 episodes. I haven't seen her. I don't think she was present at all in the 3rd episode. Besides at the breakfast table, if that in the 3rd. Sorry, I'm like a little tipsy. I'm a little drunk. I'm trying to get this out while it's still fresh because I just watched it. Hilliary, I love her character. She's Hilliary without being dumb, which I love. They have really stepped it up when it comes to how they present Black people. Not specifically rich Black people or poor Black people, but there's so many degrees in between. You can talk very ethnic and have a slang or a dialogue, but that doesn't necessarily make you like unintelligent or stupid. You can be very much so a princess, wealthy, but still be about not like sacrificing yourself and molding yourself to a specific unfortunate whitewash idea of what you should be to make it more palatable for other people. I'm gonna tuck this bad boy in right here. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm on some I don't mind stragglers, but that one was, look at it. I don't like that. That ain't me. That ain't Marquita. I love her. I think she's adorable. Her signature color is pink. She hasn't said it yet, but bitch, my eyes work, and she is always wearing pink for the most part, and that is my jam. She's smart. She's superficial like Hilliary. However, she's still very skilled, and she's not necessarily like so whitewashed Valley Girl like in the original. Don't get me wrong, I loved Hilliary from the old series, but I do like how they have done Hilliary now. Aunt Viv, I love her. She, like I said, she has studied the character, and she is trying to embody the Aunt Viv, the original Aunt Viv. I don't want to say dark skin, please sound like that, because it's not. Colorism is a very touchy subject in any minority group. Blame the Europeans for that. Anyway. Jeffrey is legit. Will has already started calling Carlton C. He's called Jeffrey G. I don't think Jeffrey is like the head of the house. That nigga don't work. Yo, he don't work. I'm sorry I said the N word for people who are not privy to. But the fact of the matter is, it's part of my dialect when I'm not filming or recording. Jeffrey was always legitimate African English, or I'm sorry, Jamaican English, sophisticated, well put together. And this one is all of those things, but this man don't work. Hilliary does all the cooking because she's like a YouTuber, influencer, blogger, and food like chef. In her beautiful ass clothing, refusing to dial down herself or make it more palatable for other people. And Jeffrey is legitimately like kind of got badass boss energy. This dude, I have not seen this dude dust, clean, cook, nothing. This dude shows up, manages the household, and hands out money to necessary people when needed. So that's what's up. Another thing I did like is in recent episodes they tackled. There's a lot of microaggression. We can get into that. We will get into that if that is something people want to get into. As far as white people saying the N-word, the debate, like back and forth of rappers saying it, therefore apparently giving other people the green light to say it, but you're not a rapper, you're not a black rapper, you don't live in their experiences, so you don't necessarily get the license to say it. But I'm not going to get into that, especially those who are so far from it that in terms of who's on what side of the N-word, your people were the one on the horses whipping the backs of those, calling them the N-word. It's tricky waters. We're not going to get into that. And it's February, and it's Black History Month. I refuse. So I will not be getting into that. But yeah, I get it. A lot of people like the idea of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They love the charm of it. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who live in the reality of the Fresh Prince or Will Smith and things like that. And not necessarily like I've stepped in and walked in those shoes, but as a person of color who comes from Philly, the aesthetic, the reality of the situation is very much very familiar. Like everything checked out. I was asked to and that's kind of how I got started on it. Somebody was like, hey, come look at it. You're from Philly. I know you're from North Philly. He's from West Philly though. Is this legit? Is this how it looks? Is this how they talk? They say John a lot. Yo, I haven't said John in so many years. So many years. I live in Virginia. We don't say John down here. A John is a person, place, or a thing. It could be anything. That John over there, that John over there. And I don't want to say every place looks like fucking home, but I'm like, yo, that looks like where my auntie lives. Oh, that looks like the place around my grandma's house. Oh, everything looks familiar. You know, you like the idea of a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type character, but the fact of the matter is you can't relate to a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type character. They taught you lessons that transcend neighborhoods, but the reality is he's coming from a place where to him you're looked down on him because of where he comes from, but the lessons he's saying transcends class and things like that. So don't necessarily dismiss him. This actor is so good. In the first episode, Homeboy was like crying on demand. I felt that shit. Excuse me. As a black mom, I felt that shit. Raising a son, I felt that shit. I felt all that shit. A Philly native, I felt that shit. He called him a D-boy, which is a dope boy, which is a drug dealer. I felt all that shit. All that shit is familiar. None of this shit is new. Every drug dealer feels like they hot shit, but none of them are original. The game ain't new, y'all. And I know it's easy for me to say. I'm not necessarily in that same environment, but that was the environment I was born and raised in for a decent portion of my life. And so it doesn't disappear just because I live in the suburbs now, y'all. I don't. It doesn't disappear. I didn't just forget my life. Trials, tribulations, lessons, and traumas. No, it didn't disappear. Whether you think it's attractive or not. It's character building, but it doesn't disappear. It doesn't disappear. It molds you. You take it, you either become greater or you use it, or it becomes a negative against you. Yo, the show, like I said, the point is to tell people to watch the show. It's a fucking 4 out of 5, if not a 4.5. Solid, solid. It's familiar enough for me to want to watch it. It's familiar enough for me to pinpoint where, like, what it triggers as far as memories and episodes from the past, but it's also original enough that it has its own, enough of its own story for me to keep watching, stay tuned, and appreciate. Actually, they did really good casting. I think they took a lot into consideration. The soundtrack is so fucking good. I don't want to keep cursing, but I'm also drunk. Um, it's so good. They're so good. You could literally just buy the soundtrack. You could buy the soundtrack. You ever watch? I don't know. I'm that old, but when movies came out back in the day, they would have a CD in the music section. Girl, look, y'all, I'm older than that, but we'll go back this far. And you could buy the CD that had the soundtrack for the movie you were watching. I'm that old. So it's like, so I'm saying is like, even the soundtrack itself was solid enough that I would purchase the fucking soundtrack. I mean, I'm Shazamming it, I'm Spotifying it, so it's not a big deal now in 2022. But in my age, I'm like, yo, I would go purchase the soundtrack for this album, for this show, if it were still a thing. We're past that. If you have time, if you have Peacock, which I want to say is like $14.99. We watched the Super Bowl with commercials with the halftime show yesterday. And I'm going to watch Marry Me Next with J-Lo and Owen Wilson and Sarah Silverman. And I want to say Moana. I'm so sorry. The Hispanic artist as well. It's also available on Peacock. Go for it if you have $15 and you want to take on that responsibility. It's something new we got, but it's available on Peacock. And it's legit. It is not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's definitely just Bel-Air with characters from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It is like the same characters, different story. Familiar, but completely different. It's so much to dissect. It's kind of hard to break down into one video. This video is going on 18 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to go to sleep. I love you all. Thank you for giving me this much of your attention. If you have, I don't know how to edit. I would love to be that person who puts up like backgrounds and scenes and clips. And I might get there one day, but today is not that day. And the casting is really good. He's Will without being overly Will. They did the Inside Out jacket. They did Jazz. He's not the Fresh Prince just yet. They've done like he's like how he flirts with women, how he deals with Uncle Phil. Even when the scene where he's like, you know, my daddy wasn't there, like I'm a man. And I can't speak for that part as a man because I'm not a man. I've never been a man. But yo, I don't know if that's a Philly thing. I'm like, is it Philly? Or I thought it was specific to me and my own issues. But we're not going to get into that. But it's like, you know, I don't need him to teach me how to be these things. I'm going to be better than you because you taught me what I don't want to be. Does that make sense? They hit on that very, very early, which I appreciate. And he does it so well. His mom is great. They do it so well. Now I'm like, yo, is it specific to Philly? Not necessarily that dads are shit, like our biological fathers are shit. And we have to build up this armor of like, you know what can he teach me about how to be a good person, right? Kind of energy. It's not specific to me. Is it just Philly in general? What the hell can he do to show me how to love? How can you show me how to love? You ain't been there. Right? relationships between characters is crazy. Will is a good friend. He's very loyal. He's very loving. And I don't think it's Philly. I don't know if it's not Will, but I feel a lot. I understand it. Whoever I am, there's a part of me that resonates with how he is, and I don't know if it's because of similar background stories, or it's not geographical. I don't think it's specific to Philly, but I get it. It's loyalty to your friends. This feeling of how you feel in parental relationships, and Will is consistently a good person, though, despite it all. He's a child, but still has to maneuver or not back down as a man in a lot of instances as an adult. Not because he doesn't have a choice, and because people look at him as a child, and he is. It's just really interesting. Anyway, the point of it all is there is humor in it. There is some jokes. It is not overly comical. It is not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But if you want to watch Bel-Air, a little bit more drama from a place of nostalgia, this is a good show. 4.5 out of 5. So, with that being said, I am going to sleep. I don't got work tomorrow, but I don't want to keep talking. This video is so long. You're not even going to want to watch it, depending on how long it is. So, y'all, don't talk about me and my hair. Don't talk about me and my skin. No one has. So that's good. And to be honest, I would block you. I would either argue with you or block you, or argue with you and then block you. I'm trying to stay away from arguing with anyone. So I probably would just quietly, respectfully, and humbly block you. But I look tired. I wash my face. I have so many things going on right now. I'm learning about building business credit. Y'all, I'm like crazy. And I will catch up with you guys later. It's really a lot. There's a lot of microaggression. There's subtle hints of racism. And I know you don't want to watch. The show's not about racism at all. You just, as a black person or a person of color, some of the situation feel familiar enough that you will understand and kind of look at it. Look, Hilliary, look, chocolate milk. That's a thing. And I had that discussion tonight. It's not racist, it's racial ignorance. And I get that, but I think words like racial ignorance, microaggression, things like that all fall under the umbrella of racism. You may not be a racist. You don't have to be wearing a damn KKK hood and lynching people for you to be considered racist. And unfortunately, I know some people don't know what they don't know until they learn, until they know, which is, I also understand that that's human beings. But there's stuff that goes on in the show that kind of feels like you are aware and you still kind of intentionally did this, which is racist. That's not ignorance. That's knowingly doing something that affects another group of people, which means you don't get to claim ignorance. It's under the umbrella of racist. So if I want to take away all the pretty bells and whistles of saying ignorance, knowledge, they can learn, all the cute shit, it's actually just under the umbrella of you're just racist. They praise this new generation. We don't take things the same way our older generation do. You don't necessarily get a pass for necessarily not knowing things, because we live in an age of technology where everything is available. Anything is available. Everything. It's overstimulation. It's over information. So you don't necessarily get to say, I didn't know, because at the end of the day, it's everyone's individual responsibility to learn and know anything. If you didn't know a recipe, you'd Google that shit before you try to make before you try to make a peach, I want to say peach cobbler because I just made a peach cobbler. Before you try to make a peach cobbler, if you didn't know how to make a peach cobbler or you wasn't sure how to make it, you would Google that shit. So do the same thing. Or else, if you don't want to be labeled as ignorant and racist, unfortunately, do the homework. I don't get mad at a person who doesn't know, who's trying to learn. I get mad at a person who knows enough, has access to the information, and still chooses to either not look it up and not learn and go forth. Don't fall back on ignorance then. I don't get the choice to be ignorant. So, unfortunately, you don't either. So, if you want to argue, check Hilliary. Go watch Belair. Check Hilliary. And unfortunately, the people who beat you down and get mad at it, they need to question themselves. It's not you for pointing out and not tolerating racism, microaggression, and whatever else falls under the umbrella. Ask them why they're okay with microaggression, racism, and whatever else falls under the umbrella. I love everybody. You're all God's creatures. God is black. And, I'm sorry, or at least Jesus is. And I love you all. Watch Belair. And good night. Good night. I'll check with you all tomorrow. I just also started, Peacock is changing my life. I started watching One of Us is Lying. I read or listened to the audiobook. So I've gone through the audiobook. I'll probably make a video on that one soon. So that's another one. It's an audiobook turned into a series on Peacock. And the audiobook was so good. I want to say it's a New York #1 bestseller. So we can talk about that one. It's a really good one. 30 minutes later, I've been talking. Have a great day. I love you all. I know I say that all the time, but it's because I do mean it. I don't have to know you to love you. My heart is big enough for all. And sometimes that's what you need. Someone to love you despite it all. Despite the shit. Despite whatever it is you've done that people are beating you down for and saying you're a bad person for. Despite not being a perfect human being. I love you. I accept it. I accept that you are not a perfect human being, that you make mistakes, that you are learning on the fucking job because no one knows. We are all on the job. And that means you're human. A lot of people come from a place of moral perfectionism when it comes to how we maneuver and how we see each other, from a place where we expect them to be morally perfect, is what my therapist said. And that is not human. That's not being a human being. That's not realistic. What is self-compassion, self-love, self-forgiveness, and acknowledging that we are all humans and humans make mistakes, big and small, whatever the scale is you rated on. And that, my friends, is what being a human is all about. And what you need while you're learning these lessons is to know that you are loved and you are supported and someone is here for you. They see you, they see the bad, and they still love you because you're a human being. I love that. Good night. We'll talk soon because I have to catch you up on this new series. Have a good evening. Bye, loves.